Here in this country, Donald Trump is not going to be that bad. Don't run.
Katt Williams didn't just clap back. He detonated a cultural bomb that's still shaking the entertainment industry. It all went down the moment Katt sat on Club Shay Shay, locked eyes with Shannon Sharpe, and unleashed one of the most blistering critiques ever aimed at Steve Harvey. No jokes, no comedy routine, just straight, unapologetic truth, or at least his version of it, dripping with years of frustration and industry grievances. The interview hit like a lightning strike. Every word, every reference, every pause felt calculated. And while viewers laughed at the delivery, the content was heavy. Accusations included stolen jokes, ego-based gatekeeping, shady network politics, and fake friendships. Accusations that left Steve Harvey at the center of a cultural storm he never saw coming. For years, the narrative has painted Steve Harvey as a lovable king of television, hosting game shows, talk shows, radio, and more, while positioning him as comedy's wise uncle figure. But Katt Williams has always had a different view. According to Katt, the King of Comedy title was self-declared, not earned, and the respect Steve enjoys was based less on comedic skill and more on knowing the right people. The shade got real when Katt suggested Steve only stayed relevant because he played the game better than everyone else, and not necessarily because he was funnier or more talented. That was the moment the comment section exploded.
President Trump was accommodating. I'm gonna give the man this. The man was very congenial.
Just show me what he's done for black people so I can understand, because right now I don't.
All right, go on and collect.
Kamala Harris for president.
This wasn't the first time Katt took aim at someone in the industry, but this time was different. First, because it wasn't impulsive, Katt clearly came prepared with years of receipts. And second, because the internet now moves faster than ever. Within hours, clips were going viral across TikTok, Threads, Twitter, and YouTube compilations titled, "Katt Just Ended Steve." Fans began pulling up old footage of Steve repeating jokes from Mark Curry and others. They started reposting clips of him calling himself the King of Comedy, while others pointed out how he replaced Bernie Mac in spaces Bernie was promised. Suddenly, a trusted public figure was facing allegations of being a manipulator and career opportunist. As Katt spoke, you could feel the tide shifting. Younger fans who didn't grow up on Kings of Comedy suddenly looked at Steve differently. Meanwhile, older fans, those who loved Steve's energy and resilience, were confused and divided. Thousands of comments accused Steve of being a gatekeeper who blocked opportunities and stole his way to the top. Others defended him, saying Katt was always divisive and using drama to remain relevant.
Politics like that?
Nope.
It's not good for the country. Who does that? Yeah, your team got an offense and a defense. They're not supposed to be enemies. The enemy is the other side.
Thanks.
Never talk about it. I'm not that controversial.
But the truth is, this clash wasn't just about jokes. It was about power, legacy, and who really earns their spot in history. It was about control. It was about the culture choosing who gets to be remembered as royalty. And right now, Katt's interview made everyone question whether Steve Harvey earned his crown or just borrowed it from the people he stepped over along the way. Behind the viral moments and Twitter reposts lies something older, a rivalry that's been brewing in stand-up comedy for nearly 2 decades. Anyone who's seen Katt Williams on stage knows he brings a level of honesty that's rare in Hollywood. This hasn't always made him friends, and it absolutely didn't make him shy away from addressing what he sees as unfairness. So when Katt decided to call out Steve Harvey, he wasn't firing randomly. He was airing a list of grievances from the comedy trenches. Back in the early 2000s, comedians were battling not just for fame, but for identity. There was no YouTube to showcase independent reels, no social media to make yourself go viral. If you wanted to blow up, you had to get through the clubs, agents, and select insiders who controlled bookings and television opportunities. Katt rose as a raw underground talent, while Steve was already establishing himself as a TV-friendly, family-approved figure. Their careers collided in a way that only intensified over time. What fans don't always see is the quiet pressure to dilute jokes, change personas, or switch up content just to appease gatekeepers. According to Katt, Steve was the kind of comedian who played by every industry rule, moved with corporate strategy, and even used connections to climb higher than his peers. Katt, on the other hand, became the face of anti-industry comedy, refusing to sell out and constantly pointing out the hypocrisy he saw behind the scenes. Their contrasting paths revealed two different philosophies on fame: conform or disrupt.
Same Steve that went to go watch Mark Curry do his whole sitcom and then stole everything Mark Curry had. Now Steve got a sitcom where he the principal and he making all black men think he got the best lineup in the business, and it's a man unit. People, he used to be homeless. That's my story. That's not his story. Steve Harvey wasn't never homeless. When 25 years ago, he was making $3,000 a show in cash and doing 5 shows a week. They just tell the story.
Katt hinted that Steve Harvey blocked opportunities for other comics behind their backs, even those he claimed to admire in public. The most heated accusation was about joke theft, a death sentence in stand-up culture. Katt didn't just call it out casually. He named moments Steve allegedly performed routines that resembled Mark Curry's material. Fans immediately pulled up side-by-side comparisons, the punchlines, the structure, the tone, and the videos gained millions of views within days. That single moment sparked what commenters began calling the Steve Harvey reckoning. What made this all so polarizing is how recognizable Steve is to mainstream America. Hosting Family Feud, Miss Universe, Celebrity Family Feud, radio shows, and motivational speeches, he isn't just a comedian anymore, he's a brand, a billion-dollar brand. So when a comedian as respected as Katt stepped out and suggested the foundation of that brand was tainted by imitation, people took notice. Now Steve Harvey has a choice: stay silent and hope the fire burns out, or step forward and defend himself. But either way, the damage is already spreading. For the first time, people are publicly questioning whether Steve Harvey's ascension was built on borrowed work and betrayed relationships. And the craziest part? Katt believes this is just the start. Hollywood scandals usually fade fast, but this one hasn't slowed down. After Katt lit the match, the fans took over the flame. Comment sections and fan forums filled with people piecing together past interviews, old clips, and contradictory statements from Steve Harvey. Suddenly, everything he ever said started getting re-examined. It wasn't just one accusation anymore. It was a cultural audit. The allegation that Steve stole material ran deep in comedy circles, but what made it dangerous this time was how fans applied it to his entire persona. People started looking at how Steve handled the Miss Universe fiasco. Others recalled interviews where Steve spoke down about Bernie Mac's career while he was still alive. Some cited how Steve jokingly told Monique he and Oprah didn't care if Hollywood blackballed her. That joke became evidence to some that Steve wasn't as supportive of his peers as he claimed. Instead of clearing the air, Steve stayed silent, and that silence got interpreted as guilt. On TikTok and Twitter, people began calling for Steve to be held accountable. The phrase "Steve Harvey canceled" became a trending tag, and that's where the culture split. Many defended Steve, pointing out his achievements and how hard he worked to rise from homelessness to global success.
Bring their ass here and start building them desks and stuff in America, because he's gonna make America great again. Let's go, Donald Trump!
Some said Katt was just stirring drama, but others argued that no amount of success justifies stepping on other comedians, especially ones who opened doors when you first walked into the game. The hashtag #ProtectKatt started trending. What intensified the situation was how different generations processed the drama. Younger fans, who discovered Katt Williams on viral clips or TikTok memes, gravitated towards the raw honesty. They saw Katt as a whistleblower who exposed the fake image Hollywood tries to sell. Older audiences, especially those who grew up watching Steve on Kings of Comedy, didn't know how to reconcile their respect for Steve with the magnitude of these new claims. And then came the influencer reaction videos. Commentary channels lit up with deep dives on the feud, industry history, and breakdowns of how power works behind the camera. Some content creators even claimed Katt was talking about a bigger pattern in Hollywood, where people who question gatekeepers get blackballed while the ones who play along become legends. Now the spotlight is bigger than both comedians. This isn't just about Katt versus Steve anymore. It's about how the culture treats authenticity versus business. It's about how fans are tired of polished illusions and want real transparency. Behind closed doors, Hollywood is rattled. Katt Williams didn't just air dirty laundry, he forced the entire industry to confront a problem it has spent decades ignoring: the monopoly of power. People in the business don't want this smoke. They know what happens when comedians attack the system. But now every actor, writer, and producer is watching to see what Steve does next, not because they're worried about him losing deals, but because they know this moment could shift how gatekeeping works in modern entertainment. Before social media, accusations like this might have been quietly buried by PR machines and industry alliances. But now, things go viral before anyone can control it. Networks are rethinking their association with Steve Harvey content. Internal memos are circulating about how to respond if journalists ask about the allegations. Steve is more than a public figure, he's a multi-platform media empire. If this controversy grows into something bigger, many businesses partnered with him could face blowback too. And then there are the other comedians. While names like Dave Chappelle stay silent publicly, insiders say the community is buzzing privately. For years, many comics felt frustrated that the Kings of Comedy coronation was based less on comedy and more on branding. The praise was real, but so was the resentment. Katt might just be the first to put it on record. Some believe Steve still carries enough influence to survive the storm. Others argue that Hollywood doesn't control cancel culture anymore. The audience does. People are tired of celebrities controlling narratives. They want honesty. They want justice. And ironically, they trust comedians more than anyone else.
Kamala Harris and the Democratic plantation is paying you celebrities, paying you to shame black people into voting. Y'all know we not going to.
As media companies scramble to navigate this escalating feud, the question now becomes, how much of Steve Harvey's career depends on preserving his image as a lovable family figure? And if that image becomes tainted, is the crown coming down? This feud might be entertaining to most viewers, but to Hollywood, it's a warning shot. Someone finally spoke about the untouchable, and now everyone must decide which side of history they're standing on. While many fans are celebrating Katt as the hero of truth-telling, others see a different angle. What if Katt's scorched earth approach makes him a threat to more than just Steve Harvey? Katt has a history of exposing industry secrets and turning private grievances into public conversations. He's called out Dave Chappelle, Cedric the Entertainer, Tiffany Haddish, Kevin Hart, and more. Some believe this makes him unpredictable, a comedian who refuses to bow but also refuses diplomacy. This persona can be seen as brave or self-destructive. There's a thin line between courage and chaos. Katt openly criticizes corporate power, white executives, black gatekeepers, and Hollywood politics in a way most entertainers would never dare to. Some see this as truth-speaking. Others see it as career suicide. But there's an irony here. The same industry that blackballed Katt for not complying is now watching him lead the biggest conversation of 2024. The same voice they tried to silence is now louder than ever, and the audience is siding with him. This tells us something important about today's cultural landscape. Authenticity beats branding. Fans want flawed, real, uncensored content. They trust the rebel more than the polished star. So now entertainment giants have a choice. Keep canceling the truth tellers or evolve. Because if they don't, the audience might cancel them instead. Some executives fear Katt represents the start of a bigger trend, where entertainers stop following the script and start exposing old deals, stolen ideas, and career sabotage. If more comedians adopt Katt's approach, Hollywood's control system could collapse. Katt isn't dangerous because he tells jokes. He's dangerous because he doesn't care who he offends. Money, power, icons, networks, none of it intimidates him. And that's exactly why fans love him. At the end of the day, this feud isn't just about two men, it's about legacy. Who really deserves the title of comedy royalty? Who gets remembered as a giant and who gets exposed as an imposter? Steve Harvey has power, influence, mainstream love, and billion-dollar longevity. He's done TV better than any comic in history, but he also has accusations now tied to his name of stepping on peers, allegedly stealing jokes, and prioritizing career over community. Whether that sticks will depend on how he responds. Katt Williams has always been a fighter, not for ratings or fame, but for truth. He never took shortcuts. He never kissed rings. His career suffered because of it. fewer movies, fewer networks, fewer deals, but his respect, it's never been higher. In a world full of imitation, Katt stayed original. And that resilience may be his crowning achievement. The culture now waits to see how Steve responds. Will he deny everything? Will he confront Katt? Will he remain silent and let time do the cleaning? Because in the end, the audience decides the winner, not ratings, not money, not publicists. And right now, the people are listening and remembering. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to hit like, click subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss another deep dive into the biggest stories shaping culture, entertainment, and hip hop.